Hi, I'm Jeff Bermudez.
And I'm Omar Kadri.
Welcome to The Collective Journey.
Join us as we explore some of the most promising talents, thought leaders, and change influencers in our city and beyond.
As we uncover these hidden gems, I hope you'll find that they're people just like you and I, with hopes and dreams and gifts that they would like to show to the world.
It is our mission to share their work, to share their story, and to appreciate what our community is capable of producing.
This is my adventure.
This is your adventure.
This is our collective journey.
Hi, I'm Omar Kadri, and welcome to another episode of The Collective Journey. Sometimes we can become accustomed to doing things according to the expectations of others. But what about doing things that you want to do? What about following your own path? Our guest today is a graphic designer who develops concepts for businesses. In hearing her history, we will be learning the importance of believing in your own personal brand. We present to you our guest, Olivia Achmann. Let's have a listen.
So this is just like a few scrap pages I have of some cardstock, just some blank paper, some construction paper in here too, and I like things other than white to draw on. I don't know, it gives me some kind of variety in what I'm drawing, right? So I use like a lot of coloring pencils, but I like to use primary colors mostly. Like whatever I can get away with, I'll get away with, but right now I'm working on a few things. Here's if you guys like Pokemon, actually. Another one here is actually a rough version of a redo of an album cover that I'm doing for a band local to here, actually, Wind Cries Mary.
Oh,
and
that's
they're so they're more of a metal band. For those who don't really know the scene too well, they're pretty hardcore. It's pretty good music.
Okay.
My good friend Kieran, he is the front man of that band, and they are actually also running in a tour very, very soon, actually, in August. It's called Heatwave, and it's actually going to be outside of town, and quite a few bands are going to be playing on it as well. So local bands, that is, metal bands. So
That's cool. Maybe we'll have to get some of them in here.
I was just about to say.
Hear what they have to say.
That looks like a Moltres, by the way.
Yeah, I like the whole Phoenix look to it.
I'm glad you said that, because like that was one of my inspirations for it.
Oh.
Yeah, I ended up getting one like reference thing, and then it was just more so like the pose, one reference photo for the pose, and then I was like, well, I don't want to do the same thing. That's copying. That's not right. So I went and kind of like got some references. I looked at like a really, really old like fairy tale, I guess. It's called the Firebird, and I really liked how it had like really cool quills all around the phoenix. So I took from that as well, and this is actually too complicated for what they're looking for, so I have to narrow it down, but that's just all a part of the process of design.
Do you design your own tattoos?
Yeah, I did actually. Like I created the ideas for them. On my left arm, I have on my upper arm, I have a phoenix, and I also have flowers that kind of go on my shoulder. Got a little burnt at Warped Tour, so you can kind of see that still.
Do you plan to add color soon?
Yeah. The key there is finances. So when those come in, the colors will also come in. I also have a quite a large dragon on my right leg, which is that was pretty extensive. That took a long time and was very painful. If anybody's looking to get a leg tattoo all across their leg and behind their knee, watch out. You're gonna have to take a lot of breaks.
That's interesting. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your work and what you do. So what's your title?
So right now I am a branding designer. So essentially what that means is you take a graphic designer and you specialize it. So it's just a specialized type of logo design where it's not just logo design. You take the logo and then you expand to, what colors are predominant in that logo, what best represents that company, and then you expand that to basic guidelines that any graphic designer can go ahead and follow in my stead. So at that point, you're creating a guideline handbook, or at least like a sheet with the proper typography to use, the right colors, and the colors are very specific too. It'll give you the printer values for the color. It'll give you the hex codes for like programming as well for web design, because again, that's just one more realm of our job. It's pretty vast actually. And then otherwise, what we do with branding is we apply that to marketing and advertising. So not only do you use the same typography on your website and on your business card, on your letterhead and envelope, and your email signature, if applicable, but you can also apply that to your marketing and advertising on your Facebook pages, on your Instagram pages, Twitter, really sort of any literature that goes out to the public or internal. And then that's consistent. That's something that your client base can feel, related to, and it's something they can associate your company with. So you want something recognizable, and that's my business.
That's interesting. Would you find that like your job consists of like more like they come to you and they give you like the task and like you just have like a time frame to kind of complete it, or is there a lot more consulting involved, like a lot more like questions about like what the vision is, things like that,
So initially, it's a consult appointment. I generally try to make it as casual as possible. My target is generally younger entrepreneurs, business professionals who are looking to start a business locally, as well as other bands perhaps or artists starting up in the local area. I also have even worked with some artists in Ohio, which is interesting. But other than that, so I started this from the ground up. Essentially, I was essentially tired of working for people. Like, I wanted to work with people. Like, that's sort of my whole motto too, like, I'm really kind of tired of current business models and, how no matter what, I know money's always going to be first, always. That's just a fact of life. However, I feel like, especially looking at like a lot of the events that are happening in general lately, like even locally to us, I find that like a sense of community is completely lost. And I find that like our local community has lost its ability, to associate even just with the simplest things as buying local and, get egg sourcing from local businesses. And I want to change that, honestly. I want to be able to provide, a feasible service to somebody and, also get paid for that, but also create an experience instead of just like providing a service. I want that person to feel welcome in their community, that they can, feel confident in the businesses that are in their local area, that they can provide a service that, that they can use and will provide them profits in the future. So that's where I'm coming from.
What's the business called?
So my business right now, I still have to do the things, but I'm calling it LA Design Co. Just my initials. My name is Olivia, but I do go by Liv casually. I'm okay to either. But I took that as my initials, Liv Achmann. So I chose LA Design Co. because it was also what was most readily available on Instagram as a new handle. So yeah. that it worked for me, and it works well as like a hashtag. It works well as a Facebook or Instagram handle, or even Twitter handle when should I ever feel the need to use Twitter for what I'm doing. But right now, predominantly my focus is on Instagram and on Facebook for my business. That's generally how I get it. People do come to me for my services. I don't generally have to prospect, although I did have a successful prospecting encounter actually here downtown in London, which was great. Just waiting to hear for the next steps on that one, and we had a very successful business relation as well. So it's I find it like very exciting to meet new people and to create those relationships, because you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who needs branding services, or maybe they didn't even know they needed branding services. They maybe thought that they, maybe they were misled on the value that they were provided, and that's the big thing. People aren't necessarily looking for a product for the product anymore. They're looking at how much value they're getting. They're looking at how much they're saving instead of how much are they actually paying. So I'm trying to change that as well. There's a very skewed mindset, I believe, and a very skewed psychology on value. Just in so many ways in this day and age, with the rise of technology, and that comes, as a huge dynamic change in my field, going from, traditional, like for typography, for example, was all done by hand at one point, and then computers came in. Suddenly, everybody was doing everything on computers. Everything was so much more precise. Granted, it's a lot easier now, but it's still different.
So you were talking about how you were doing this because it was more than just money. It was more that you wanted to provide an experience, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, actually. It really is a lot more than money, to be honest. A lot of what I do is specifically because I like to, again, create a positive experience in what I'm doing, and, maybe to sort of, not like, it's not like it's a stigma, but it's maybe a lack of knowledge on how in-depth the design process truly is at any level of any company. And, I deal with clients, as quote unquote, low on the food chain as local businesses to high profile corporate clients. And I can honestly tell you that my treatment of those clients is the same. No matter who I'm talking to, it's still a human being who requires my services. And that's where I really want to bring it back. Instead of us saying, oh, this name is, really good because it's this brand, and I need to buy this brand because the TV told me to. Instead, I would really like to create an experience where somebody's going, you know what, I really want to buy from this local provider of goods or services because of how they made me feel. They made me feel welcome. They listened to my inquiries. They, addressed any issues that came up. If there are issues, that's just a reality. If there are issues, how did they work to solve that? How did they discern your situation to get to the right solution? And again, with my schooling, I also was able to go to Niagara College for their business, sales, and marketing course. In terms of like an influence in that sense, I really got a good sense of, I guess, self-confidence, talking to people, being able to express my opinions from one of the most quote-unquote useless to my peers class ever, and it was called Sales and Success Fundamentals. So that class, essentially, it ranged from a seminar on how to speak to people generally, to us getting up randomly and standing up on our desks and screaming that we were valued, just crazy stuff. And it was very, very interesting at some points. We were told to do a lot of silly things. Well, they seem silly at base value, but a lot of coaching exercises, like jumping up on your desk or getting into a group of 5 people that you for sure have never spoken to in the class before, of a class of 50. That was interesting. And then you had to go and cold sell socks or something ridiculous, like a toothbrush to somebody, and it was already opened. So it was just silly stuff.
Sounds like a challenge.
It was a challenge, and it really was. Like take nothing, take something you don't believe in, take a product that you have no association with, you don't believe in it, you don't care about it, and try and sell that to somebody. It's impossible. And with people that you don't know per se. And essentially, I didn't get it at first, but now that I'm thinking about it, and now that I've gone through multiple courses, through my business, sales, and marketing courses, taking a couple of years off, and then going to graphic design, the classroom setting is really different, and the types of students that enter each respective program is dynamically different, and it really kind of woke me up in a sense. And I was kind of seeing how people's motivation around me was affecting how I was doing as well. So.
Okay, well, the sales and success fundamentals, when they teach you to do all those uncomfortable tasks, I guess, I find an overlap with other, I guess, icebreakers where they make you feel like you didn't die doing it, or you were happy because you did it. It was your thing.
Right.
Do you find that that influences the way that you approach your clients, where you create a brand and identity for them so that they more readily own themselves?
Right. So, in that respect to my job, what I try to do for the client is help them establish what they stand for as a company, and who are they trying to target, what are they trying to get out of this, like what's the point, right? Like, why are you doing this? That's what I will ask them. I'm like, why do you do thing? Why would you like to sell organic goods? Why would you like to play paintball professionally? I ask these different questions, to actually see where their emotions are. And if I don't really get a good vibe from that, sometimes I'll actually just say, sorry, like I don't know if this is right, because I need something more tangible to work with. I don't believe in creating just something that I believe would be good for them, because that's not a reflection of that company, nor is it going to help them at all, right?
Yeah.
So we'll establish their values, their mission statement, and that, again, that's all a part of the branding, and that, again, brings the concept back in. But I'll ask them these questions to refine the concept, and really I can discern what colors to use psychologically as well, based on their tone, their attitude, how much passion they have in their product. What look do they want? Do they want it to look fancy? Do they want it to look authentic to their field? Do they want it to look modern, or maybe more old school, traditional, or maybe something completely different? So by those judgment questions, I kind of write down a few key points, and then after that I'll go take a look at the resources that I have through Fanshawe and through their awesome library as well for consumer behavior. Textbooks and literature and journal articles, because there's just so much available in the school library. I can't even stress that enough, that, if you're an alumni even, you have access to so much material. But in any case, in that sense, I will then take the information that I get from those clients and I'll create a logo, and it'll be a rough logo. I usually create, just like I have my paper here with you right now, usually it helps me to render what I'm doing just as I'm talking about it, because then it's just the freshest as possible in my mind, and then that way it's the most authentic of what I'm getting from that client as well. So then at that point I'll have a rough concept done by the end of our meeting, and then we'll take a look at that and say, oh, that's really great, or oh, this is garbage, we need to scrap this and try again. And that's just totally a part of the process, and that's all included within that consulting fee as well. And they get all those assets. I then upload them right now, because it's just kind of small still. Once it gets bigger, I won't be doing this as much for free. It'll be paid. But what I do right now is I have a Drive folder, and I just upload everything onto a Drive, and that client, for every stage of the design process, they will have a folder with all of the works that were done for that stage. So they'll have every progress, a duplicate of that progress, just to make sure that everything's transparent, right? That way there's no issues. And then just in case, if suddenly there was one edit done maybe 2 weeks ago and there were 2 edits done since then, and you don't know where that edit was, and you need that one specific edit, it's easier to find it with an archive. So I just try and make sure that everything is, low stress for the client, because that's a part of the experience. So
you kind of have a first meeting folder, and then the second meeting, and
right,
the final stages type of so you keep track of it that way.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm really handing it off to Google, because they honestly really make my life so much easier with their calendars, and with Google Drive itself. as well as my spreadsheet with my work with Fanshawe College, which I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, everything is streamlined that way, and so nothing gets missed in terms of calendars and drive links and whatnot.
So what was it about graphic design, or I guess about art in general, that made you decide that that was the experience that you wanted to provide? Have you always been an artist, like since you were a child, or was it kind of something that you just discovered like while you were older? Like,
I've always done art in one way or another, be it through like actual drawing, coloring, painting, or sculpting. I got into as well. I just kind of wanted to try everything, and my parents also always wanted me to, you know, have as much creative freedom as possible. That was what I really love about them. So I really love that about my parents. They were always like encouraging in terms of like what I wanted to do artistically, and that way I was able to explore. But other than that, I've always been interested in just like anything art. I also do typography and calligraphy. So let me find one of those.
sounds like this where I wish we had a camera. It'd be nice.
Oh yeah, here's the snake actually that was put on my Instagram page actually.
Okay, that's cool.
If you check out ladesign.co, you can actually check out the snake that we're talking about right now. Yeah, so that's ladesign.co,
Wow,
all
okay.
lowercase. Here's some more typography. This was sort of a rough rendering of a real estate app.
This is one of your actual clients.
No, so
No.
this is made up. So I made up a real estate company called Eden, and their slogan was going to be not actually this, but my rough concept said the first time buyer's garden. So I was thinking Garden of Eden, paradise, maybe like couples that are getting their first house, something a bit, more traditional, something more conservative, just for target market's sake, just because it was such a stark target market to base off of.
Can we find this on your Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys want to listen back, we'll plug her Instagram and you can see Eden. These are all handmade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The snake took me, it wasn't like a start to finish thing. On and off, it took me 5 hours, I believe, between 5 and 6 hours. This took me 1 hour. The Eden took me 1 hour.
Do you find that your focus for the future is mainly on business and branding and like logos and things like that? Do you ever hope to get into broader concept art for let's say for films or for TV shows or for games?
Oh, absolutely.
Anything like that?
Absolutely. I'm open, honestly, to anything. I'm one of those people that doesn't really like to say no to opportunity. So
yeah,
I kind of want it all.
Didn't take you that long to get in here.
No.
I didn't have the objection handle at all.
No. I'm all for new experiences, and this is definitely a new experience, and the only way that I'm going to get better at these types of things is if I try it. Okay. So that's my mindset on that one.
You were talking a little bit earlier about the community and how you feel like community is lacking, and that you wanted to provide an experience to be able to contribute to that. Can you talk a little bit about why you feel the community is not as strong as it should be, or I guess I don't know if you understand what I mean by that, factors that separate people, or why people aren't as close together as they could be.
Well, I would absolutely say without a doubt it's technology and the rise of technology, the rise of social norms and social communications, as well as even your business practices. Something as small as writing an email has now completely lost its format or etiquette or the way that, quote unquote, things were supposed to be. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a huge stickler to those types of things. I'm definitely a casual person, but I find that respect among young people and toward young people from older people and toward younger people trying to, step outside of that stereotype of not wanting to do much and not caring about, change in the world or change even in their local community especially. I find that that's very different now in young people. I do see some, isolated events of kindness, but even something as small as like holding the door open for somebody, I don't even see that happening anymore. So I want to bring it, back from something like the small things to what I do, and I want to provide a personalized service that they don't have to travel far away from and they don't have to pay those big bucks for yet. And that's the thing, like get a good product now while it's still, a low price, a manageable price, and at a manageable rate. You can't go wrong with not having to travel far and not having to deal with people you don't know, maybe that you don't like. And, I hope that my potential clients and my existing clients like me, I try to provide the best experience possible. But, I'm always looking to meet new people, so that's why.
Yeah, well, technology is definitely a big factor in that. But when it comes to regards with what you do specifically, like, can you talk a little bit about how technology is actually a benefit to your field? Like, for example, the concept of digital art, digital drawing, or the ability to access these mass market places like these asset stores where you could sell art online. How does that play into your life?
So, in terms of I'll talk about those kinds of stores where you can get mass-produced art for pretty cheap and whatnot, and I'll just go ahead and categorize that into every other type of, piece of my job where you can get, bootstrap framework done for you really cheap, or even templates are available in vast amounts free on the internet, and you can go and get these templates and these pre-made things, but somebody else also has that. And so it doesn't really show a sense of individuality, and it doesn't really show that you're serious about your business if you can't even get, your own individual brand in that sense. It doesn't show, in my opinion, even as a designer. Imagine if me as a designer would just pick a template from whichever website, and perhaps a potential employer who just saw that WordPress layout 20 minutes ago when they were sorting through people's applications, that's going to demoralize them. In a sense, it's going to then maybe not provide the best experience, again, all about experience, to the other applicants who maybe really are great, but they didn't have what he or she was looking for at the time, based on, again, an experience that something that was wrong.
Did you have official schooling for your creative side, for the drawing and the graphic design?
No, I just kind of see things and try them out. What I'll do is I'll look up tutorials at base value for things. I'll take multiple different references for what I'm trying to achieve, and I'll make the best out of that, and I'll see, what works for my situation, what doesn't work for my situation, and then I kind of just make my own style from there. So with my coloring as well, I kind of try to blend as many colors as possible, but also not blend as many colors as possible in that sense. I try to use the the primary colors, blue, yellow, and red, but I'll also use some accent colors, maybe a light gray or a dark gray, a sky blue, or even I'll use alternate primary colors, perhaps a turquoise instead of a blue, a gold instead of a yellow, and a crimson instead of a red, typically. So I try to vary it. I see what's successful and what popular artists are doing.
Thank you for joining us. That's all the time that we have for now. But tune in again next episode as we conclude our conversation in next week's installment of the show. If you or someone you know would like to be on the show, contact us through our social media channels. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Collective Journey. And always keep in mind, this is not just my adventure, but it's yours as well. This is our collective journey.